Hey, welcome back to Miss Curtis's art class. Today we are going to be creating a Jasper Johns inspired drawing, and we're going to learn a little bit about Jasper Johns and the artwork that he created before we dive into what we're going to draw today. So Jasper Johns was born in 1930 in Augusta, Georgia. He always knew he wanted to be an artist and moved to New York in 1949. When he was in New York, he became friends with many of the artists living there before he was drafted into the army. When Johns returned home from the Korean War, he began experimenting with different art styles such as abstract expressionism, which is all about showing emotion through color, lines, and shapes. Jasper Johns' paintings were different though. His paintings were of things we have seen hundreds of times but tend to ignore. His paintings do not show his opinions or emotions, and this could be one reason his work is so popular. He painted objects that everyone recognized, like targets, numbers, maps, and flags. So today we are going to take the number 1 and we are going to draw 2 different images using the number 1. So we're going to use Jasper Johns' idea of taking everyday things that we see, such as numbers, and for him, he used targets, maps, and flags, but we're going to take the number 1 and we're going to experiment with changing it into another image. Okay, so we're going to get started here. All you need for materials today is something to draw with, and if you have something to color with, that's great, so crayons, color pencils, or markers, and then a piece of paper. So the first thing that we're going to do, as we usually do, is we are going to make our frame and name. So I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and I'm simply going to hold my paper with my opposite hand and create a frame along the edge of my paper. Remember that if you have trouble making a straight line, you can always make a curvy line. Okay, so for our first drawing here, we are going to take the number 1 and we are going to turn it into a truck. Okay, so this should be pretty fun. So I'm going to start off using a red crayon just so that you can see my number 1 very clearly. So I recommend you using a colored crayon or a colored marker, colored pencil to make your number stand out on the paper. So I'm going to put the number 1 over towards the left side of my paper, and I will show you why. I'm going to make it decently large. Okay. Now, for what we're going to turn this number 1 into, we are going to want to have more space on the right side. So we are going to turn this number 1 into a truck. Okay. I'm going to take my Sharpie marker and I'm going to start by making a circle at the bottom right hand side of this number 1 right here, right off of this line. And I'm going to make a circle shape. So take your time. Now this is fun because, like I said, we're taking the number 1 and we're actually being a little more creative and turning it into an image. So a truck. Okay, now the next step that we're going to do is we are going to draw a straight horizontal line right off of that circle. Now we are going to make another circle for the front wheel of the truck, and it is going to come right off of this line right here. Okay. The next step that we're going to do is we are going to create another circle within both of these circles. So we are going to turn this circle into a tire. Awesome. Now what I'd like you to do is we're going to make a straight vertical line from this tip of the one all the way to this side of the one, and we're going to just pull our writing utensil straight down. And this is going to be the back of the truck, and it'll make sense once we put the whole drawing together. The next step that we're going to do is we are going to make a straight horizontal line that's going to come across for the top of the truck. And I'm going to stop it right when I get to the middle of that wheel, just about. The next step is we are going to make an angled line. It's going to be diagonal, and we are going to come off right from the top of the truck, about halfway down the truck, and stop. The next step we're going to do is we are going to make the hood of this truck. So I'm simply going to make a horizontal line, a vertical line, right down to the middle of this tire, and a straight line connecting that. Now we have the body of the truck, and just like that, we took an everyday number one that we see and we turned it into an image. Now let's add some details. So this is where it gets really fun. And if you want to add any extra details, feel free to do that. I am going to make a rectangle shape for a window here at the front of my truck. You can put a person in there if you'd like. You can even make a little handle, door handle. And I am going to make some fumes coming off from the back of this truck to show that it is moving. So I am going to put 2 angled lines and then a few curvy lines to show that the truck has some gas coming out of it. And let's make some motion lines. So I'm simply going to make 3 lines that are coming off the back of the truck to show that it's moving. Now, if you wanted to put a person inside of the truck, feel free, like I said, to draw the image of a person inside. And you can always add some other windows as well. So here we have a truck, the number one turned into a truck. So what we're going to do now is we are going to experiment turning the number 2 into an image as well. And then we're going to have fun with the number 3. And I'm actually going to allow you to come up with your own image for the number 3. So go ahead and take a new piece of paper and make your frame and name. All right, at the bottom I'm writing Miss Curtis, at the bottom right, and homeroom number. And I actually forgot to do that on this one, so please add that if you forgot. Sometimes that happens. Okay, so coming back over here, I am actually going to take my orange crayon this time, and I am going to make a number 2 in the middle of the paper. Now again, it doesn't matter really what color you take, and I like to have my numbers as a color so they stand out. Just going over it a couple times. All right, so here's the number 2, and please draw it in this style. I know that number 2s can also look like this. I'm going to show you. So we don't want that number 2, this curvy loopy line. We want our number 2 to look like this. Okay, so The first step that we're going to do, and what we're going to turn this number 2 into, is a walking bird. So you can see right here what that looks like. We are going to make a straight, slightly angled line coming right down towards the edge of this number 2. Then we are going to make a loopy looking curvy lined tail. The next step is we are going to make a straight line that slightly curves for the leg, and we can give some toes, little feet right here to our bird. Okay, and then we can also make the letter V right here for the feet. Okay, so now we've got one foot that's kicking out and the other one that is standing straight. The next step is, why don't we give our bird a wing on the inside? And this looks like the letter W. And then lastly, and most important, let's give our bird the head. So what we're going to do is we are going to make a curving line that comes up and a beak off the top and a straight line that comes down. So curves up, beak, straight down, and the letter U. So I'm gonna have this look like the bird's eye is closed. It's kind of like the letter U or a J right there. And now we have a bird. Okay, so now that we have made our 1 and 2 turn into 2 different images, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take one more piece of paper, and I would like to see what you create for the number 3. Okay, so I'm simply going to take my crayon here, and I am going to write down the number 3 right in the middle. Oops. Okay. Now, what kind of interesting image can you come up with using the number 3? And then we're going to share. I'm pretty excited to see the way that they look. Once you've created all 3 of your images, you can color them in. And like I was telling you earlier, you can add some other images in the background. So if you wanted to add some plants for your bird over here, maybe a road down here and some clouds and a sun, I would love to see it. And then we can color those in. So I'm going to show you how mine look colored in. I'm going to color in one of them, and I'm going to give you some time to color in your pictures. And like I said, I can't wait to see how they look. Okay, so that is how I colored in my number 1 and 2 truck and bird. So like I said, I'm super excited to see what you came up with for number 3. So think creatively about that. I do want to show you what I did for mine, just for fun. So I turned my number 3 into a monkey. Okay, so I can't wait for all of us to share our pictures. So 1, 2, and 3 right here, learning about the artist Jasper Johns and how you can take everyday objects or symbols and turn them into something else. So yeah, so go ahead and color in your pictures, and I also am looking forward to next week's lesson with you.